Hello, brothers and sisters. Hey, thanks for joining me again. Got to do a quick update on the George Abaraonye Oxford Union scandal. Just a reminder, George was the president-elect of Oxford Union, and he celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk in a few texts. And then he did a apology, non-apology, where he said he was sorry for his family and sorry he was shot. And I'm paraphrasing, but he also said Charlie was a bad person who celebrated children's murder, and he pretty much deserved what he got, or he might not have said he deserved it, but he implied it. When people called for him to step down as the president elect over his celebration of a school shooting and a celebration of the death of someone he knew that was really a political opponent that he had lost the debate to, he doubled down and said it's all about racism because if you're black, everything is about racism, right? So the no confidence vote results were finally announced today after some delay. And it was said by the returning officer who was in charge of counting the vote that he had been intimidated. And really, George had sent his bully boys around to challenge every vote that he possibly could because he had no intention of stepping down. This was just a sham, a ruse. He was going through the motions to make it look like he was doing the right thing. But the right thing really would have been to step down immediately. So let's see how it turned out. The result has been announced. Students vote to oust Oxford Union president-elect after Charlie Kirk comments. Good. Thousands of members were eligible to take part in the no confidence vote. A vote of no confidence against incoming Oxford Union President George Abaraonye has passed. The institution confirmed on Tuesday morning. The motion secured the required two-thirds majority despite claims that the poll itself was compromised. Yeah, George and his people were saying there were problems with the vote. I don't know how there can be problems. They had a month to get ready to do this vote. And it was a simple yes, no. So how many problems could there have been? It just shows that we aren't letting first class students into the best universities anymore, I would say, if they can't count to about 2,000. However, in a statement, Mr. Abaraonye said the poll was compromised by untested regulations, and he alleged people campaigning to oust him had unsupervised access to email account collecting the proxy votes. Of course he is, because he's going to try to do everything he can to stay in his position. The right thing to do is just to resign. A notice published by the extraordinary returning officer Donovan Locke said 1,228 ballots were cast in favor of no confidence and 501 were cast against. So that's about 70% and a total of about 1,700 ballots. The notice states the president-elect is deemed to have resigned in accordance with Oxford Union rules. However, it adds, if allegations or complaints are lodged, the result shall be pending their determination. Yes, I'm sure George and his bully boys are going to go ahead and try to challenge the result after he said on a podcast, hey, I just want this to be a fair accounting and we'll let the will of the union decide. But now he doesn't want to abide by the will of the union. Imagine that. Why would that be? Proceedings were informally suspended early on Monday after the returning officer was allegedly subjected to obstruction, intimidation, and unwarranted hostility by a number of representatives, the notice said. Yep, those were George's bully boys. Tell me if I'm wrong. Mr. Abaraonye's statement claims the count was suspended because electoral officials believed no legitimate and true result could be reached as a result of procedural failures. Well, he may claim that, but the guy in charge of the count seems to think it was okay. It adds, we equivocally deny that any representative appointed by George engaged in intimidating or disruptive behavior. Well, we just need the returning officer to single out the folks that were trying to intimidate him in the vote. The statement posted on Tuesday morning said the matter was referred to the disciplinary committee on Monday afternoon and that Mr. Abaraonye is still president-elect. Yeah, that's Mr. Abaraonye's statement. That's not the statement of the guy who counted the poll. Thousands of members were eligible to take part in the no confidence vote, which was open for in-person voting between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. on Saturday, as well as for members to submit votes by proxy. Yeah, I'm sure Abaraonye was hoping to get more of the local students and not alumni who might have to travel in, because the alumni are probably a little bit more conservative and a little more shocked at what he did. And the young guys who've come up under DEI and COVID, they're fine with him celebrating the death, probably, of a political. Mr. Abaraonye, who became president-elect of the Historic Debating Society after a vote earlier this year, faced controversy after Charlie Kirk was shot dead at a Utah Valley University event in September in what U.S. authorities call a political assassination. Oh yeah, 100%, it was a political assassination. Mr. Kirk, a 31-year-old father of two, was a Donald Trump ally and co-founder and chief executive right-wing youth organization Turning Point. Here they are, the two of them in the debate they did together, and I believe most people feel that Charlie Kirk on the left won, and Mr. Abaraonye couldn't bother to get out of his pajamas when he rolled out of bed that day, it seems. It really just shows the character of the people that go to Oxford today. Wow, how Oxford has fallen. The Times reported that in one message to fellow students in a WhatsApp chat, Mr. Abaraonye wrote, "Charlie Kirk got shot, let's fucking go," while another on his Instagram account read, "Charlie Kirk got shot, laughing out loud." In a statement last month, the Oxford Union condemned his remarks and said complaints filed against Mr. Abaraonye had been forwarded for disciplinary proceedings. In an Instagram post that is no longer public, Mr. Abaraonye said he had submitted a motion of confidence in himself in an effort to reclaim true accountability and reaffirm that Oxford Union must remain a place where students can make mistakes, apologize sincerely, and learn from them. Yeah, except now that the vote went against him, he's not he's not so willing to worry about true accountability. He thought the fix was in. Posting on social media last week, Oxford Stand Up to Racism said Mr. Abaraonye has faced a tirade of racist abuse online since. Oxford Union statement in September condemned the racial abuse and threats that Mr. Abaraonye faced. So good. This is a good result. It's a start. This gentleman has done significant damage to the reputation of Oxford and Oxford Union. Now it looks like you'll let any old Ned in, and people are actually questioning, was this guy qualified? And it's come to light that he was allowed into a PPE degree program with an A and two Bs. Why would that be? Normally you have to get 3 As. So it just shows that the DEI at work. And when you put in underqualified people into these positions, they just can't handle it. And that's what we saw here. Because he was a DEI hire, everyone has to circle the wagons because it couldn't possibly be a systemic failure with DEI. This has just got to be a one-off. Or, you know what? This is racism. These are all just racists coming after Mr. Abaraonye because he's black. No, people are coming after him because he celebrated the death of a political opponent who he actually debated in a free speech debate. That's incongruous with being the head of a leading free speech society. People that are saying it's racism, this is not racism. If you look in the news in America, people were fired from jobs all over the country because, yes, you have your free speech, but free speech has consequences. You can say what you want in the public square, but then other people can react to it. And if people are appalled by your speech, then you know what? You don't get to be president-elect. It doesn't matter what your color is. Stop hiding behind the racism. That's what they always do when anyone who was hired for DEI gets questioned. It must be racism. It must be Islamophobia. It must be this. No, it's because of what you did and said. People all over America were fired from their positions, no matter what their color, no matter what their race, no matter what their religion, because people felt it was intolerable in America to have people teach our children who are celebrating school shooting, people who are nurses and doctors who are saying, yeah, maybe they wouldn't treat a conservative because they're all Nazis and fascists. This is why he had to go. By doing that celebration, he brought disrepute on the Union and Oxford itself. But because of DEI, he's gotten a pass all his life. If you ever notice, when politicians lose a vote, they very quickly concede because the optics of fighting it look really, really bad. The longer he fights this, the worse the Union looks, reaffirms that he was never up to the job. And now, hopefully, this will be the last story I do on this, and he is unsuccessful in forthcoming appeals on the vote. Hopefully, this vote is final. He's out, and we can move on. And hopefully, the Oxford Union and Oxford can try to rehabilitate their reputation. But they've got a long way to go. He really damaged the reputation of Oxford and the Union. A lot of people that funded the Union have stopped sending money. A lot of people that were invited to speak or debate at the Union have very publicly said, no, we won't come because he's going to be the president. We're not going to do this. The Oxford Union today is not the most prestigious debating society in the world. Mr. Abaraonye and his ilk have made it a laughingstock. And this is what happens when you use DEI to put in somebody who has minimal qualifications or even less, because you want to feel good that you're not a racist. But no, opportunities should always be merit-based. They should be colorblind. It doesn't matter what somebody's race, religion, color is. We need to give the opportunities in jobs, in education, and wherever to the most qualified. How many people got triple A's and didn't get into Oxford because you let people like Mr. Abaraonye in because you wanted to feel like you weren't racist, Oxford? And then same thing for the union. How many people voted for Mr. Abaraonye because you didn't want to be seen as a racist? He's certainly not the best and brightest at Oxford. Let me know what I got wrong. Like and subscribe if you like this. And don't watch me if you don't. Thanks. Bye.